Hi, friends. This is the reading lesson for second grade. This is the second part of primary sources. So go ahead and turn to page 14 if you have it in front of you. And all of you should have your new booklets by now. We are going to read the second part. So in our first part on page 14, we learned what a primary source was. So primary means firsthand, which is what we highlighted here. And a primary source is someone who has direct knowledge of the topic. So if we think about an event that happened in history, anybody that was there is a primary source. And people that were there can paint pictures, can take photos, could write about it, and could show artifacts from that exact event. So that is a primary source. Now we read about interviews. We read about paintings and photographs. And today we are going to read about writings. And you can see this picture of some writings that are from history. We'll talk about those when we get to the caption down below. So make sure you're on page 19. Remember to highlight as you read while you're learning about writings as a primary source.
Writings. The written word is another primary source. It is one of the oldest primary sources. In the past, people sent handwritten letters to one another. Now they send emails. Diaries, newspapers, and documents are other forms of the written word. They are good ways to learn about the past.
The Declaration of Independence is an important document about the founding of the United States of America.
All right, so we kind of talked about how things have changed from way back when to now when we are doing our invention writing. And we know that before the telephone and before computers, that people had to write letters to people in order to talk to them. So in the past, people sent handwritten letters to one another, and now they send emails. But diaries, newspapers, documents are other forms of written words. And of course, they help us learn about the past. Now, think about when they were writing the Declaration of Independence. Can you imagine if it was during COVID? Maybe they would have to do it via Zoom, or they would have to send emails back and forth. So they didn't have those things. So they met in a room and they, hand wrote it with a feather and ink because it was so long ago, 1776. So pretty cool to think about how our country has developed and things have gotten better because of different inventions. Let's keep on reading. Now we're going to read about artifacts. Page 20.
Artifacts. Artifacts are things made by people. They are another important primary source. We can learn about how people lived and worked by looking at old tools. Artifacts show what daily life was like in the past. Old toys tell us how people used to have fun.
These toys were made more than 50 years ago. Do they look like today's toys?
All right, before we talk about these toys, make sure that you highlighted that artifacts are things made by people. And we can learn about how people lived and worked by looking at old tools. And also important to show us what daily life was like in the past. Okay. Now, if you look at these old toys, so maybe you've seen one of these rocking horses before, or like these robots, maybe somebody made them. But we do have toys that are similar to these, but of course they're a little bit different just because they were built so long ago and things change as years go on. All right, I love looking at old toys. I think that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and read our conclusion.
Conclusion. A primary source is directly connected to the topic you are researching. A primary source offers first-hand knowledge of a topic. Interviews can be primary sources. So can paintings, photographs, pieces of writing, and artifacts. Once you decide on a topic, primary sources will get you started on your journey into the past.
Artifacts. Interview. Painting. Writings. Photographs.
Okay, so you're going to use this last paragraph to write 2 sentences for me. So let's make sure we have what needs to be highlighted. So basically, a primary source offers first-hand knowledge of a topic. And all of these things up here, artifacts, paintings, writings, interviews, and photographs are all examples of primary sources. So your job to submit on Canvas, let me get mine set up here. You're going to tell me what a primary source is. You can use your conclusion, you can use your introduction to help you. Primary source is blank. And then you're also going to tell me the examples that we learned about. So some examples of a primary source, or of primary sources, are blank, comma, blank, comma, and blank. So you're going to choose 3 that you learned about and tell us what they are called. So we learned about 5. So your job is to write about 3, or just tell me what 3 of them are. So first you're going to tell me what a primary source is. Then you're going to tell me 3 examples. Please write that out. Then you can read it or type it on Canvas when you are ready. All right, friends, that's it for today. We'll see you later.